It has been arguably the longest off-season to date, but now we are less than a few days away from the return of Rugby League to our screens. As for the month of February, we have the NRL All-Star match, the start of pre-season matches, and of course on February 10th, the start of Super League XXVII. So how is it looking for 2022? Warning, I am not anywhere near an expert when it comes to the Super League, as I have not been invested in the league till last year. Don't take my word as gospel. Castleford was on the outside looking in for the finals in 2021, finishing 7th with a 47.83 win percentage, 2.27% lower than the final spot in the finals. They went on to the Challenge Cup final in a losing effort to St Helens, marking it as the third straight loss in Challenge Cup final appearances. Some of the player losses they have had included Peter Matautia and Oliver Holmes to Warrington, Lewis Bieniek to the London Broncos, Jesse Senna-Lafayette and Alex Foster released to Featherstone and Newcastle Thunder respectively, and the retirements of both Grant Millington and Michael Shenton. The gains for their season include a major signing of Jake Mamo from Warrington, who was tied for second in the try tally with 16. They also include Mahi Fanua and Beretta Faraimo from Hull FC, Kenny Edwards and Suai Matagi from Huddersfield, with Edwards being a lone player, Alex Sutcliffe and Callum McClelland from Leeds, George Lawyer from Hull Kingston Rovers, and Joe Westerman from Wakefield. Even the coaches knew, as Castleford will be led by coach Lee Radford, who has previously won back-to-back Challenge Cups with Hull FC in 2016 and 2017. With the signings made, it's a definite sight that Castleford are now gunning for a finals berth, but will the new leadership be able to steer the ship in the right direction? The Catalans Dragons were the cream of the crop during the league last season, finishing with an 82.61 win percentage and claiming the league leader's shield. They went on to go all the way to the grand final, only to be beaten by the Super League's evil empire, St Helens. They also had an okay run in the Challenger Cup, only making it to the quarterfinals, being knocked out by Warrington. However, the signings they have made is truly a monumental feat, one that could potentially send shockwaves throughout the Super League. They have signed Mitchell Pearce, Dylan Napa and Tyrone May, three major assets straight from the NRL. Now, if this isn't a "we're not here to fuck spiders" or whatever the hell that is in French, then I don't know what will. They did lose two players, as Joel Tonkins would retire and James Maloney would join FC Les Aignons in the Elite 1 Championship in France. With the addition of the three NRL players along with the 2021 Man of Steel Sam Tonkins, this team is going to be the main threat to try and topple St Helens. Honestly, if this team can't do it with this squad, then this will be the biggest missed opportunity probably in the history of the Super League. Huddersfield in 2021 had a bit of a lull season, as they would end up finishing 9th with a 37.5 win percentage, tied with 10th place Wakefield. However, Huddersfield had a better points percentage. They would have an alright run in the Challenge Cup, as they would make the quarterfinals before being eliminated by St Helens. It's now the third time that St Helens have actually been mentioned without talking directly about them. The players that they lost are Lee Gaskell to Wakefield, Aidan Cesar to Leeds, Sam Wood to Hull Kingston Rovers, Darnell McIntosh, Kenny Edwards to Castleford on loan, James Cunningham to Toulouse, Joe Wardle to Leeds, and Jacob Beer to Hunslet. The players they did acquire are Chris Hill from Warrington, Nathan Mason from Lee, Tui Lalahia from Salford, and Theo Fags from St Helens. The team are going to try and push for a finals berth. Do I think they can achieve it? I'm not sure. If it came down to, say, Castleford and Huddersfield to make the finals, I would probably back Castleford. Along with Huddersfield, the 2021 season was much of the same to Hull FC, with them finishing 8th with a 40.48 win percentage. Their Challenge Cup campaign made it to the semi-final, in which they would be eliminated by, you guessed it, St Helens. The players that would leave the team include Mahi Fanua and Beretta Faraimo to Castleford and Marcy Matongo to York City. The players they have signed include Luke Gale from Leeds, Joe Lavadua from South Sydney, Kane Evans from the New Zealand Warriors, and Darnell McIntosh from Huddersfield. The way it currently looks for Hull, it seems that they are trying to have a rebuild type strategy for the team. The signings of Lavadua and Evans are going to be interesting to see how they adapt to the English game. Also, these additions will be interesting to see how they add to with Man of Steel nominee Jake Connor. So I think they will improve from their position, but I think they may still miss the finals. Now we look to the other side of the Hull derby towards Hull Kingston Rovers. After finishing 6th with a 50% win rate, they would beat Warrington away in the Eliminator final, only to be knocked out in the semi-final by Catalans. They had a less than preferable Challenge Cup campaign after they lost 33-32 in a golden point thriller against Castleford. The losses for the team that they had from last year contain Greg Minikin to Warrington, Owen Harrison to Dewsbury on loan, George Lawler to Castleford, and Adam Quinlan to retirement. The signings from this season include Lachlan Coote from St Helens, Sam Wood from Huddersfield, Frankie Holton from Featherstone, Tom Garrett from Dewsbury, Phoenix Laulu Tatagi from Keighley on loan. The signing of players from lower divisions are an interesting choice to say the least squad-wise, along with Jordan Abdul, who was nominated for the Man of Steel, and Ryan Hall, who was tied for second most tries scored last year with 16. It'll be interesting to see how they will try to continue to fight and stay in the final spots. The Leeds Rhinos team had an alright season for 2021 with a 5th place finish with a 54.17 win percentage, as they would qualify for the finals and beat Wigan in the eliminators until being stopped in the semi-finals to St Helens. St Helens would also haunt them in the Challenge Cup as they would eliminate Leeds in the 3rd round. The player losses for the team has had quite a mouthful to say the very least, but we're going to address them all nonetheless. They are Alex Sutcliffe and Callum McClellan to Castleford, Corey Johnson, Moise Mustafa and Jared O'Connor to Bradford on loan, King Vuni Yayawa to Salford, Conrad Hurrell to St Helens, Luke Briscoe to Featherstone, Robert Luai to the North Queensland Cowboys, Luke Gale to Hull FC, Corey Hall to Wakefield, and Stevie Ward and Kyle Eastman retiring. Jesus Christ, that is a lot of players. The players they have gained are James Bentley from St Helens, Aidan Cesar from Huddersfield, Blake Austin from Warrington, and David Fusatua from the New Zealand Warriors. The number of players missing is kind of staggering. They probably will stay in the finals race, but still, surely there has to be some form of impact made on the team with the amount of players that have been released. Salford overall in the league had a bad season, coming in 11th with a 31.82 win percentage, with only Lee Centurions being worse than them, and with them taking the fall into relegation. They did fancy better in the Challenge Cup as they would make it to the quarterfinals and be eliminated in Golden Point against Castleford. They also had a bright spot of Ken Seo finishing first in the try tally with 18. The losses they have been made of players include of Tuai Lolohea to Huddersfield, Dec Patton to Bradford, Paulie to York City, Jesus Christ, I haven't heard that name in a couple of years, Kristen Inu to FC Lesignon, Ata Hingano to Lee, and Kevin Brown retiring. They have also made signings from the NRL to bolster their team, including Brodie Croft from Brisbane, Shane Wright from the North Queensland Cowboys, and Tim Laffey from Canterbury. Their other signings include Amir Burra from Wigan, Ryan Brearley from Lee, King Vuni Yayawa from Leeds, Sitaleki Akeola from Warrington, Dion Cross from Widnes, and Mark Snide from Hull FC. I do have a feeling that this team will be able to stay up this season, but in terms of challenging for finals, honestly, is a completely different question altogether. And now we come to the evil empire of English Rugby League, St Helens. What can be said about their 2021 season? They won the league, beating Catalans in the grand final, and beat Castleford to win the Challenge Cup final, and also had Johnny Lomax being nominated for Man of Steel. So here's how the squad will differ. The losses include James Bentley to Leeds, Lachlan Coote to Hull Kingston Rovers, Theo Fages to Huddersfield, Kevin Aguama to the Roosters, and Joel Thompson retiring. The gains they have made include Will Hopewade from Canterbury, Curtis Sirenen from Manly, Joey Lussick from Parramatta, James Bell from Lee, and Conrad Hurrell from Leeds. I mean, let's be honest, they'll be in the grand final again, but hopefully someone beats them, like for the sake of, another team winning. Now we get to finally talk about the team that was promoted to the Super League this year with Toulouse Olympique. Toulouse had the perfect season in the championship with a 100% win rate and would beat Featherstone to get promoted in the £1 million game. They were offered to play in the Challenge Cup but chose not to play. Judging from the rest of the teams, my guess they would have been eliminated by St Helens. The losses this squad have include Bastien Adair to Limoux Grizzlies, Jai Hitchcocks to Lee, Jonathan Ford being released and Remy Cassie retiring. The players they have added to their squad include James Cunningham from Huddersfield, Gadwig Springer from Featherstone, Matt Russell from Lee, Chris Hankinson from Wigan, and Lambert Belmars from FC Lesignan. Even though they did have a 100% win rate in the season in the championship, they only played around 14 games compared to others in the league, so I feel they will be fighting to stay in the league, but I do think they will be able to stay up. Wakefield had a season without finals in 2021 with a 10th place finish and a 37.5 win percentage. They would be knocked out of the Challenge Cup in the third round by the Catalans Dragons. The losses of players from last year include Joe Westerman to Castleford, Josh Wood to Barrow, Joe Arundel, Kyle Wood and Alex Walker to Halifax with Walker on trial, Chris Green to Lee, and Ryan Hampshire, who is an unattached player. The players they did sign include Lee Gaskell from Huddersfield, Tom Linehan from Warrington, Liam Hood from Lee, and Sadiq Adebayi from London, and Corey Hall from Leeds. I feel that it'll be between Wakefield and Toulouse as to who will get relegated from the Super League, and personally, I think Wakefield will lose that battle. Now we go over to Warrington, and they had a great season in the league as they would finish third with a 76.19 win percentage. However, they would be beaten at home to Hull Kingston Rovers in the Eliminator Final. In the Challenge Cup, they would also make the semi-finals only to lose to Castleford. The players they have lost include Jake Mamo to Castleford, Blake Austin to Leeds, Tom Linehan to Wakefield, Sammy Kabula to Bradford, Sitaleki Akaola to Salford, and Pat Moran to the Newcastle Thunder. Their signings however include Peter Matautia and Oliver Holmes from Castleford, James Harrison from Featherstone, Greg Minikin from Hull Kingston Rovers, Joe Bullock from Wigan, and Billy Magolius from Cronulla. The loss of Mano will be an interesting thing to see how Warrington will fare without him, but I do feel like they'll be still in the positions for the finals. And finally, on to the final team, the Wigan Warriors. They finished 4th in the league with a 60% win rate, but like Warrington would lose at home in the Eliminators to Leeds. They would have a lacklustre campaign of the Challenge Cup as they would be eliminated in the quarterfinals by Hull FC. The losses the team have include Jackson Hastings and Olivia Gildart to the West Tigers, Amir Burra to Salford, Joe Bullock to Warrington, Matty Nicholson and Alex Sutton to the Thunder, and Tony Clubb and Dominic Manfredi to retirement. Like some of the top teams in the Super League, they have made some signings of players from the NRL, with Cade Ellis from St George, Patrick McGough from South Sydney, and Cade Cuss from Manly. They have made other signings from the English system as they've signed Abbas Miski and Ramon Silva from London and Ian Thornley from Lee. They should be able to stay in the final spots, but I don't think they will have a home game in that process. So there we are. Must state, any take that I have for the season should be taken with a mountain of salt because I'm not a big expert when it comes to Super League. But thank you all nonetheless for watching. If you want to join me for my Super League live streams, then please join me. As for round 1, we'll be doing St Helens versus Catalan, Hull Kingston Rovers versus Wigan, and Toulouse versus Huddersfield. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later.